Hello, beautiful. Welcome to the She Sacral podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Christian. Let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. Hello, Sacral Beauties. Welcome to the She Sacral podcast, where we focus on burnout recovery through the power of sacred pleasure. Today, I'm really excited and a little bit sad because we are completing our Sacral Codes series with the final code is the Rebirth Code. Now, this one is all about the emotional death and sacred becoming. And so before something new can live within you, something old must be felt, honored, and released. And so when we talk about the sacral energy and that cycle of becoming, we as women literally embody this even through our cyclical nature. And so your sacral energy is not just about creativity, but it also clears energy. Just like the menstrual cycle, your sacral energy also has phases of building, holding, shedding, and restoring. The sacral energy is where we shed those old identities of ourselves, those old beliefs, those old patterns, so new energy can emerge, so we can step into the new version of ourselves that we've been building ourselves to become. Your sacral energy knows this and lovingly urges you to let go. It gives you those whispers that this isn't right for you. This doesn't feel good to you. This doesn't serve you. Whenever we have old relationships that don't align with the person that we're desiring to become and we keep holding on to them, we feel negative emotions. We feel that disconnection. So when it comes to burnout, it is a requirement that emotional deaths must be put in place to precede a rebirth. You cannot move into a space of truly being free from burnout until you completely let go and shed the old versions of yourself that allowed and created space for burnout to come into your life. And so letting go of those outdated versions of you that creates the burnout, whether you're the overgiver or the performer, or the self-silencer, constantly closing your mouth and shutting down your voice to appease others, or the woman who has tolerated, who has gone through and endured, who has tried to prove over and over and over again, those versions of yourself must be let go. And these identities often die quietly. They die through grief. They die through resistance. They die through stillness. They die through fatigue. They die through saying, I can't do this anymore. It's actually preparation. It's preparing you to release and let go of those old versions of yourself. And so some emotional symptoms that can come with this is feeling lost or empty after you've had a major shift. Feeling like, who am I now? Or unexpected grief, or feeling apathetic, just kind of meh, or not being very interested in old passions. And it's scary to be born. I don't think people realize that. When you're being born to others, it feels like, welcome to the world. Welcome. But it's actually very scary to be born. Yes, you know you have to be born. You've outgrown this space. You can't fit here anymore. And now you're being pushed through this new space, this new life, and it feels cold and it feels foreign. And there's just all of this brightness and different ways of being touched and feels that you are so unfamiliar with. It feels so scary. And it's the same way that we feel when we are birthing these new identities of ourselves. Anytime that you start a new project or you're putting yourself out into the world, you're presenting yourself out towards the world, it is always scary. You have the fear of judgment. You have the fear that this won't manifest in the way that you want it to. You have the fear that it won't be successful. You have the fear of that it won't be received. But those are just the fears. And so we have to allow ourselves to be born and to be loved, received, and nurtured. If you find that you are longing for a version of you that just doesn't quite fit anymore, that's another symptom. You keep looking at old pictures. You keep reflecting on the past. You keep thinking about, am I ever going to be that person again? And we're having a hard time embracing the new person that we've become. And so we have to remind ourselves that we're not broken. We're just in transition to become that new person. And so some energetics of rebirth, right? Let's talk about the energy of being reborn. Rebirth is messy. It is not linear, right? It is sometimes all over the place, but it is very sacred. Sometimes we can have emotional breakdowns before we can have a breakthrough. And when we're in the space of rebirth, we're releasing control. We have to release control. We don't even know how to really be or fully operate in this new identity just yet because it's new. So we have to let the unknown rise. And when you're truly in the state of becoming, I'm talking about a true rebirth, not like we're forcing ourselves to become this certain character, or we're trying to become, I'm trying to become a baddie. I'm trying to become a boss babe. No. When you are truly being reborn, this is something that happens through the natural process of you evolving into that person. You've been through a lot. You have gone through so many different trials and tribulations. You have lost, you have succeeded, you have lost again, and you have reached this point that who you've been up until this point is truly not giving you the life that you deserve, possibly from old patterns or conditionings, old stories, old beliefs. And now you're moving into the space naturally where you are starting to uncover the thing that God and life has shaped you into becoming. It is truly a divine, sacred experience. Or maybe you've gone through an illness. Maybe you've gone through a tragedy. Maybe you've gone through several different things. And sometimes it doesn't have to be dark. Sometimes it is becoming a parent, becoming a partner. It just depends. The different roles that we play when life brings it into your world. Who are you becoming in that? So let yourself grieve who you no longer are. Even though you can be excited about who you're becoming, it is truly a deeply, deeply, deeply intimate connection that you are building with yourself. And it doesn't always feel good. Like I said, it can feel really scary, and we can miss a lot of those parts of ourselves that just doesn't resonate because it gives us this feeling of comfort, of safety, of acceptance. And when we have to let that go, it can trigger some negative, dark emotions. So let yourself grieve who you no longer are with a feeling of gratitude, not feeling of guilt, not feeling of failure, not feeling of shame. Like, oh, I let myself go. I can't do this. I can't do that anymore. But no, we are expressing gratitude. Man, I am so grateful that I have learned my truest boundaries. I am so grateful that I have learned the value of who I really am to myself, not to the world. And sometimes when we lose ourselves in these experiences, that's what is being taught to us. It's not being taught to us that we need to lose ourselves, but it is being taught to us that you are losing yourself, you are destroying yourself, you are becoming disconnected from yourself by you not valuing or honoring yourself. And so now you understand the weight and the gravity of what that looks like when you don't do that. And that teaches you a very valuable lesson. And that is what I have learned. And so I have had to learn how to value myself. And that came through experiences with other people, through rejection, through feedback, through not getting feedback, through everything under the sun. That's what life has taught me. And so I had to completely, let go of all the ways that I was operating because I knew that was not going to help me step into who I wanted to become. All right, so now I want to share with you just a few little rituals you can do for an emotional rebirth. And of course, if you subscribe to the Substack as a paid member, there's even deeper rituals for every single episode. So be sure to check out my Substack below, or you can simply join our private community and get access to 30 days of pleasure rituals as well. So something you could do as part of this emotional rebirth is to write a farewell letter to your old self. You can burn it, you can bury it. Sometimes certain letters I write to myself, I like to bury it into a plant that I'm starting to grow. And I like to see the energy of the thing that I've buried being received into that plant. It's pretty amazing. And sometimes if it's really negative, I just want to burn it. So it all depends on the intention. You can also practice womb breathing, where you're breathing deep from within your womb. Let's practice that now. Breathe in. Hold and release. And you can repeat to yourself, I allow myself to become. So if you want to practice that with me one more time, deep breath in and release. I allow myself to become. You can create more space in your life, right? Rebirth is not just about the emotional rebirth, but the things that we're attracted to that creates the identity that we've been holding on to. This is past relationships, old friends, old connections that we've been clinging on to that match the old person that we've grown from. Even clothes, style, the way that you used to present yourself to the world. We have to let that go. It doesn't fit anymore. Your home environment, does this resonate? Does it fit who you are becoming? Are there things in your environment that when you look at it triggers old thoughts, old emotions, old stories, old patterns? It makes you fall back into those traps of that old identity you once carried about yourself. You have to create space in your life, and the only way to create space is to let go of things. You can't add the new on top of the old when you're trying to become new, right? So we just need to do a nice deep cleansing. Go through your closet, go through your drawers, and look at anything that no longer resonates with who you've become or who you're becoming. And letting them go will help that process move along a little smoother and faster. You can also ask your sacral energy, connecting to your womb space, what version of me is trying to be born? What's trying to emerge? Who am I working to become? And you can also practice mirror work, right? I love mirror work where you just look into your eyes in the mirror and you just say, I trust who I am becoming. I'm trusting the process. I'm allowing myself to feel safe enough to become. Sometimes we struggle with that. Sometimes we're so used to having the masks and the old ways of being and the patterns and the identities of who we've been that got us this far, that got us the attachments, the connections that we have, that got us the jobs that we have, that got us everything that we have right now. To let that go tells us that we'll lose those things. But when you're growing, when you're evolving, and when you're being reborn, the new that comes in is always so much more beautiful. So know that you are safe to shed that old version of yourself, and that becoming is sacred. Even in the dark. This isn't something that needs to be on display. This isn't something to be shared with the world. This isn't something to be shared with anyone, really. This is something very sacred and private and deeply connected to you. So rebirth is not about reinvention. It's not about reinventing yourself and, strategically and manually picking and choosing the aspects of yourself that you want to present to the world or who you're trying to be. It's not that, but it's about remembrance. Beneath the parts of yourself that's coming to an end is the real you, the authentic you, the true you that is waiting to emerge and rise and to be seen. So ask yourself, what part of me is ready to be released? And who am I becoming as I let it go? All right. Well, this completes our final episode of the Sacral Codes. I hope that you've truly enjoyed this series. If you haven't tuned in and listened to all the episodes, be sure to check them out, as this will give you that full 360 view of the sacral energy. Up next, we're going to start our new series. We're going to talk about the 12 stages of burnout, and we're going to break down each stage one by one so you can fully understand where you are in your burnout journey if you are experiencing burnout, and ways to shift that energy before it gets even worse. Thank yourself so much for showing up today, and thank you for tuning in to the She Sacral podcast.